set me live, so I hate just sitting here staring at you, but it takes like a minute for everything to go away, so it's currently testing. Those of you that are showing up early, if you wouldn't mind, just jump in the stream over here. Looks like we're live now for sure. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe just jump over in the stream and let me know if volume's okay, picture's okay. Looks like from my end that it is, so once we get a few people, if you wouldn't mind just jumping in there and letting me know that everything is good. Why don't we start out today while we're kind of waiting for people to start coming in. It looks like we've got 4 or 5 people here already. Why don't we start out in the comment section next door. It's a Saturday. Did you do something out in your garden today? What did you do? So tell me in the comment section, what did you do today for your garden? Anything? Is it still buried in snow? What's it like? Just let me know. So I actually spent the day, hang on, I'm going to just adjust this a little bit. I spent the morning working in the garden. I had my pruning that I needed to get done. So I pruned 2 apple trees and a peach tree and an almond tree today. The peach tree is real small, and I'm actually going to do a video on that one, so that'll be up on my YouTube channel soon. But I also pruned 2 apple trees and an almond tree. So I've had a good day already, and we're going to try and keep this workshop relatively short today because we want to make sure that I have some time to get out, because we're going to actually plant some peas this afternoon and potatoes. So I'm pretty excited about that. Spring is here and we're getting started. So we're in the zone 6B. So I would love to know if you guys did anything today in your garden. So what did you do? Tell me in the comments next door. I know we've got a few people there, so let me know if you did anything today. Okay, so guys, my name is Rick Stone, and I am with Our Stoney Acres. That's our website, and we also have another website called the Online Gardening School, and this is our YouTube channel. So welcome to our YouTube channel. This is our second of three live gardening workshops that we're going to be doing over the next few days. So if you happen to have missed the first one, you can see down in the description down below, there is a link that will take you so that you can see the first one in the series. So in that first one, we talked about, it was kind of focused towards new gardeners or gardeners that are struggling a little bit. So we talked about what you can do in the way of different garden types. So we went over the raised bed gardens, in-ground gardens, and container gardens, and then we also talked about where you should be putting your garden. So sun and soil and water and all those kind of requirements. So if you missed that workshop, the link's down below. It'll be up for probably about a week. We'll leave it up, and so you're welcome to go back and watch it. I was super excited. I had great participation. Lots of people that were there during the actual broadcast, and lots of comments, questions, and things like that. And then we've had like 600, almost 700 people watch it since. So awesome. That's cool. I had no idea what these would be like. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this one. So it looks like we've got a little bit of action going on over here in the chat. Danielle is saying that it's still a little cold there. So she's trying to stop her seedlings from dying. I've got a lot of seedlings going right now too. I've got a hoop house. I'm hoping this afternoon that I might actually get some of my seedlings transplanted out into that hoop house. Some kale, lettuce. That's basically about it for right now. But yeah. And we planted some seeds this week too. So we planted 2 big beds of just greens, kind of mixed greens. We put bok choy and kale and lettuce and spinach and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, okay, Alan is getting ready to plant seeds inside. Awesome, very cool. We did the bulk of our kind of warm weather crops, more cool weather crops: broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, some more lettuce, and then we also started our tomatoes and some peppers. All of those we started about a week ago. I think it was last Friday or Saturday, and they're up. So everything except for some celery. The celery hasn't come up yet, but everything else is going on. So Alan, zone 4B, you're a lot colder than I am. I'm 6B, so we're right in the thick of it. It's time to be doing things. You're probably still about a month out, I would imagine. So anybody else do anything today in their garden that they want to share in the chat before we get started? Just kind of maybe a reminder as to why we're doing these workshops. I hope to help people learn how to be better gardeners and learn how to garden in your own backyard, because there's just so many advantages to having a backyard garden. The fresh produce, the exercise you get, the fact that it's good for the planet, because instead of it traveling 1,000 miles from Chile, it's traveling 25 feet from your backyard. So it's good for the planet. It's good for self-reliance, and that is a big thing right now. Check my YouTube channel. I did a video on the 12 crops that you can be planting right away that will be ready to harvest in as little as 30 days. I did a video on that last week, and that's good in this kind of crazy time. Prep work. Terry's doing prep work. Good. Yards, bed, and garden. Awesome. Nice day today in Texas. No rain. And is it Shinakwa? Hopefully I said that right. So I'm terrible at names, guys, by the way. Okay. All right. So let's kind of get started on things here. My name is Rick Stone. I'm the founder of the website Stoney Acres, and this is my YouTube channel. And I am also the founder of the Gardening Academy, which we'll talk quite a bit more about the Gardening Academy as we go through this broadcast towards the end. But is what the Gardening Academy is it's a monthly membership site where I teach people how to become better gardeners. And I teach them how to grow gardens, and we do that with a variety of different methods. We do some Q&A sessions every month. We do a mini course. We have a focus topic that we focus on every month and go through and have a mini course, and we do recipes and food preservation and interviews with experts and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's good stuff. Okay, so that's the Gardening Academy. And if you want to learn more about it, we're actually open right now for new students in the Gardening Academy, and the link is down below, so you can click on that. Okay, let's see. We got a little bit more before we start the actual workshop. Donna is saying her leaf lettuce and broccoli are about 3 inches tall, but it's still pretty cold for them. Cool. And hi, David. Okay. All right. Sounds like we've got some good stuff going on. And like I say, I've had a good day so far in the garden. Hang on, I'm going to make myself smaller here. So let's go over here. And then we're going to go like this. And move it over here. So that now hopefully you guys can see the slides. Okay. All right, so this is what we're going to... Looks like we're going to have to go a little bit smaller. Yeah, looking good. We got 22 people, David, watching, so I think we'll get started. Okay, so hoping... Yesterday I went about an hour. I really didn't mean to. We had a lot of questions, so that's good. So if you have questions, if it's related to what I'm talking about right now, throw it up, and I'll kind of try and watch the feed every once in a while and answer questions about the things that we're talking about. If it's kind of just a general gardening question, maybe hold it to the end, and we'll do a little bit of a Q&A session at the end like we did yesterday. Okay? All right. So here we go. Before we start out, so there's one key that I think will really make a difference for somebody who's starting out with a garden or who is, relatively new with a garden. And I'm going to tell you a story to illustrate that key. And you're all going to think this is a silly answer when we get to it, but it's actually, I think, very important. Okay, so let me tell you a story. When we first moved into the home that we live in now, which was about 8 years ago now, I was asked, people saw us digging up our garden. Let me see, I think I put, no, that's a picture of produce. Yeah, there we go. So this is our garden, and when people saw us putting in a garden, I actually had a local church group ask if I would come and teach some gardening workshops. And so I actually went and taught 4 gardening workshops with them. And one of the people who I've since become pretty good friends, and our kids have gotten to know each other and everything, he came up to me and explained his situation. And he said, 2 or 3 years ago, we got really excited about gardening. We decided we wanted to have our own garden, and we wanted to grow our own produce and can and everything, and we were just rah rah rah, go. And they actually went out, and just so you know, we live in the kind of the suburbs of Salt Lake City, Utah, and most of our yards are roughly about 1/4 of an acre. Okay, And so backyard is maybe an eighth of an acre or something like that. They actually went out and tilled up like 2/3 of their backyard. They left some grass, but they took out all the grass and they tilled up this huge space in their backyard, and decided that's what they were going to do. They were going to plant a garden in this space, and it's a really big spot. And so they dug it up, and away they went, and they planted everything that first year, and they really struggled because they kind of didn't know what they were getting themselves into. And it turns out that the space that they chose was really, really big, and they didn't have as much time as they'd hoped. And by the time I talked to him 3 years later, after he had done this, it was just a weed patch that they were planning on putting back into grass if I couldn't help them get a garden going. So the thing that I want you guys to learn from this is, let's see, now we're going to go back here. One more is the key is to start small. Okay, so you might have plans and dreams of having this big, giant, super productive garden, and that's awesome. I love that idea. And here again, let me go to our garden. This is our garden, and we have the space you're looking at right here is about 700 square feet. And then with our raised beds and some raspberry beds and a few things that we have, total in our yard we have about 1,000 square feet of garden space. Okay, and that's a pretty big garden, but it's not giant. I mean, there's people that have huge gardens that are way bigger than that. But for somebody that's new, even my size of a garden would be a little bit overwhelming. Okay, now gardening is not rocket science, okay, but it does have a learning curve to it. And so the key to being a really successful new gardener is to not dig up your whole backyard, to not build 10 raised beds. Instead, it's to start out small. So if you were to ask me what the best size garden for a brand new gardener would be, it would probably be about 10 feet by 15 feet. So maybe 150, 200 square feet, somewhere around there. Just a nice little patch where you could plant a zucchini, and you could plant some tomatoes, and you could maybe plant some beans, some lettuce, some broccoli, and try out a few plants, and then then kind of get your feet under you. Okay, so to me, the key to having a successful garden early on is to start small. And then if you have a great year, the first year with your garden, double it. Okay, and then double it again if you need to or whatever. But start out with just a nice small patch that's easy to manage so that you don't feel overwhelmed with weeds. You can kind of get a feel for what things are like, what the growing conditions are like in your garden, and everything like that. And then you'll also kind of get to know that maybe you don't like zucchini as much as you thought you would, or maybe you don't like growing beans, or maybe broccoli or cauliflower is too hard, and you'll kind of get a feel for it. And if you start out small, then it's never overwhelming. And that's the thing that I don't want, is I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I want you to start out small and take manageable bites at growing a garden so that you can be successful and have just a super good, successful, productive garden. And so, like I say, 10 by 10, 10 by 15 is a really good place to start. Or if you're doing raised beds, maybe 3 or 4 by 8 raised beds would be enough. I mean, that's where you should start. In the Gardening Academy, our monthly membership group, we've got a gal that she lives in North Carolina, and she's just starting a garden this year for the first time. And we did a consult with her and went through her garden and kind of diagrammed things out. And then she showed me what they're doing. They're in North Carolina. They're already kind of on the way with their gardens. And she showed me what they had done, and she put in 4 by 8 foot raised beds. And eventually she wants to do more. She has the space for more, but that's what she started with, because that's manageable. That's, a good place to start learning. Okay, so that's what I would recommend is, if you're going to do raised beds, 4 by 8 foot raised beds, maybe even 2. 2 might be enough for you. If you're doing an in-ground garden, then I would start with maybe a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 15 foot patch, because that will actually make things easier on you and just kind of get things going. So while we're kind of just hanging out here for a second, guys, tell me how big your garden is. Tell me if you know how many square feet. Maybe you don't. I do, because I'm anal about those kind of things. I know what the measurements are, but tell me how big your garden is. How much do you actually have, and how much do you grow? So post that over in the comments. Okay, so let's move on. I wanted to do that. That's the key for new gardeners, but I also wanted to take a few minutes and kind of explain a few other things that I think will help new or struggling gardeners to know a little bit more. So let's talk about planting using seedlings versus using seeds. Okay, so these are seedlings. So these happen to be some pepper seedlings. Let me turn me off for a second so you can see the whole picture. Hopefully that doesn't make me go away completely forever, but you can see those are some pepper seedlings that we grew a few years back. And seedlings then are the individual plants, planting those by plants that are already growing. And there are certain plants that you're going to want to plant by seedlings. Peppers is a good example. So we've got peppers here, and that's a great example. You're never, peppers have a very long growing season, and so you have to get started early with some seedlings indoors, or you need to buy those seedlings from a nursery. If you tried to plant, in most climates, if you tried to plant peppers by seed outdoors, you would get very, very little harvest. Okay, so kind of the key to knowing what you should be planting by seedling versus seed is kind of that growing season, and so you need to look at those and do a little research. But it's going to be things that you for sure are going to want to plant by seedling are going to be peppers, tomatoes. Even in the warmest environments, I think both peppers and tomatoes should be planted by seedling. It just gives you a better start on the plants. So both peppers and tomatoes always are going to be planted by seedling. Others that you're always going to plant by seedling would be things like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. All of those should always be planted by seedling. Maybe if you live in a zone 9, you might be able to get away with planting some of those by seedling, but for the most part, those of us that live anywhere where we have cold weather, all of those plants you're going to want to put in by seedling as well. Okay, then we kind of have this class of seeds that can go either way. So you could either plant them by seed or by seedling, and that would include things like squashes. So all of the squashes, including melons, because melons are actually part of the squash family. So watermelon, cantaloupe, Crenshaws, all of those muskmelons and things like that. They're all actually part of the squash family. And then in the squash family, we would have cucumbers. We would have the winter squashes, spaghetti squash, banana squash, all of those. And then you'd have the summer squashes like zucchini, crookneck squash, and patipan. All of those you can plant by seedling. Okay, they're not big fans of being transplanted. They don't like their roots being disturbed, but you can buy or start seedlings for those indoors and then move them outside. But those will also do very, very well just being planted directly out in the garden. Same with things like peas or beans or lettuce or Swiss chard. All of those could be planted as seedlings, or you could just go ahead and put them out in the garden. Okay, so you've got that class as well. And then the last group that you would be planting by seed for sure would be any of the root crops. Okay, so anything that grows that you're going to harvest a root, you want to plant those directly out in the garden, because those will not transplant well. And so you're not going to put in seedlings of carrots or seedlings of beets or radishes or anything like that. Anything that's a root crop is going to be planted directly in the garden. In my opinion, corn also should be planted directly in the garden. It's just not effective to try and grow seedlings for corn. It does well, plant it out in the garden. Unless you live somewhere really, really cold, like a zone 4 or a zone 3, then you might consider planting corn or beans or peas, indoors first and then transplanting them out when it's a little bit warmer. But for the most part, my opinion is corn, all the root crops, beans, peas, all of those can just be planted directly out in the garden by seed. Okay, so there you go. That should kind of help you out there on what you should be doing. And all of those ones that are kind of in the middle, things like lettuces, Swiss chard, spinach, arugula, all of those can go either way, and it kind of depends on what you want finished product wise. I have found that if I start lettuce seedlings indoors and then transplant them out to the garden, that I end up with a prettier looking plant, if that really matters. But the reason why is because I end up with just one plant, whereas when I seed out in the garden, then I have to do some thinning and stuff like that. So those are kind of here or there, So, all right, let's take a quick look at the comments here and see what we've got going on. Morgan just moved into a house that has a 15 by 8 foot bed that's established, and this is your first time, huh? Cool. Glad you're here then. This is a good place to be, so hopefully I can help you out. And another place, thing that you might consider is the Gardening Academy. That's a good place for new gardeners. Alan says he's got 500 square feet. That's a good sized garden. That's a nice sized garden. He grows beets, kale, peppers, onions, turnips, lettuce, chards, tomatoes, strawberries, and potatoes. Cool. SS Kern lives just outside of Memphis. I was in Memphis just about a year and a half ago. Zone 7B, and you have 5 raised beds, about 158 square feet, and expanded by a new bed this year. See, and that's what I think you should be doing. I think that's exactly the way to be starting a garden. If you're new to gardening, and like Morgan, that 15 by 8 foot established bed, that's perfect. That's the great place to get started, because you're not going to be overwhelmed. There's not going to be 10 million plants to deal with and a whole bunch of weeds. Something that size is just perfect. And 4 or 5 raised beds, and then if you really like it and you really dig it, add some more beds, and then make sure that you figure out how to manage those, and then add some more. So that's just for me is the perfect way to start. Okay, then the last thing, what are we doing on time here, guys? Let me see. We've been going for 23 minutes now, so I was hoping to keep this to about a half hour, and then we'll do some question and answer if we have any. So let's go with this last section. Now, this is something that even some experienced gardeners have a little bit of a struggle with, hybrid versus heirloom seeds, okay? Versus also, and I'll throw in here, we'll talk about GMO for a second as well. So let's talk about the difference between the three, okay? So first off, an heirloom seed is a kind of natural, it's called open pollinated. So if you plant an heirloom vegetable and you save the seeds from an heirloom vegetable, you will get the same plant next year, okay? A hybrid is also a seed that's been created naturally, okay? And even like the heirloom seeds were at some point were probably hybrids as well, okay? But a hybrid seed is one that has been bred by plant breeders. So it's what they're doing is cross-pollinating. So they're looking for particular traits that they're trying to establish. So they may take a really early maturing broccoli and cross it with a broccoli that has really, really big head production and see what they get. And then they'll try something different until they come up with varieties of plants that they're cross-pollinating naturally. So they're just taking the pollen from one plant and putting it in another plant through the whole natural process to create new plant varieties. The problem with a hybrid seed is that sometimes, and in fact quite often, if you were to save the seed from a hybrid seed and plant it the next year, you won't get the same plant, okay? So hybrid seeds are not stable. The traits that they have been bred for are not stable past the first generation. So one of my favorite hybrids that we grow all the time is called a celebrity tomato, and a celebrity is a cross between a couple of different other parent tomatoes. And that tomato, if I were to save the seeds from a celebrity tomato and plant it, the next year I would not get a celebrity tomato because it's a hybrid. And it will instead, and I've tried this, not on purpose really, but I had some celebrity tomatoes fall and rot in the garden, and then they came up the next year. And as what I ended up getting was a very kind of bland tasting cherry tomato that was kind of really big. It was not even a very small cherry tomato, but it was not big enough to be a slicer, but not small enough to really be considered a cherry. And that's what we got from the celebrity, because the traits are not stable. Okay, so heirlooms, the traits are stable, and you plant seed year to year to year, and as long as you've saved the seed correctly, you'll get the same seed. Okay, so most heirlooms also, if you hear the word heirloom, that also means that they've been around for a while, and it depends on which organization is defining it, but it's usually somewhere between at least 50 to maybe 75 years that plant has been around and has been stable and continues to produce. So heirloom are seeds that you can save. Hybrids are seeds that you cannot. Now, there are some real advantages to some hybrid varieties because they've been bred for specific tastes, specific colors, maybe disease resistance or something like that. And so there can be some real advantages to hybrids. Okay. Now let's talk GMO for just a second. Okay. So a GMO is a genetically modified organism. Okay. And those are created not by the normal hybridization method, which is, pollen, putting the pollen from one plant into the flower of another plant. Instead, genetically modified plants are created by splicing genes within the seeds. Okay, and they've created these different varieties. And here's the thing that you need to know. And I feel like, not that I'm criticizing any seed company, but I am a little bit. Almost every seed company now, they advertise these are non-GMO seeds, non-GMO seeds, non-GMO seeds. That's a little disingenuous because you cannot buy a GMO seed for your garden. Okay, period. You can't. Any seed that you buy in a seed package for, to plant in your garden is not going to be a GMO. Okay, if you are going to get a GMO seed, you have to be a farmer. You have to sign a contract with the seed company in order to get those seeds. Okay, and so you can't get a GMO seed to plant in your garden. It's just not possible to mistakenly get one. You'd have to be purposely trying to get a GMO seed. So you don't really need to worry too much about GMO seeds. And then the other thing, you've got to watch out for the argument, because some people will say that a hybrid seed is really a GMO seed because we're genetically modifying it through, we're manipulating it through plant breeding. No, it's not the same thing, because a GMO seed is being spliced, and they're splicing genes from different organisms. Even sometimes they're splicing bacteria organisms and things like that into those plants in order to get the traits that they're looking for. Whereas a hybrid seed, it's still a natural process that we're just helping along. Okay, so that's the difference. So my opinion is that a well-balanced garden will include some hybrid varieties and some heirloom varieties. I try to grow as many heirloom varieties as I possibly can, but there are a few cases where I just need a hybrid variety. Okay, so let me give you one example. Broccoli. We love to grow broccoli, but here in Utah we have a very kind of funky fall and spring. Okay, so we'll go from, right now in March we're 40 to 50 degrees, and then all of a sudden we're gonna, in 45 days from now, we'll be in the 80s and 90s. We skip spring for the most part. We have a really short compressed spring. Same with fall. We go in September from 90 degrees to the 1st of October we're back in the 50s. And so we have this really short compressed window. And so things like broccoli, they like to be growing in the cool weather, but we have such a short cool weather time frame that I have to have a variety that's very short seasoned. And so I found a variety that's only 55 days from planting it, transplanting it out to maturity, so that I have, so that it's growing still in that cool season. And that's a hybrid variety. I can't find an heirloom variety that is that short of a growing period. So that's one example. Another great example would be is if you have problems with tomato blight or maybe verticillium wilt or something like that on your tomatoes. There are hybrid varieties of tomatoes that are bred to resist those problems. And so they're much more resilient when you have those type of issues in your garden. And so in those cases, you may be wanting to plant hybrid variety versus heirloom. Now, some of the advantages for heirloom varieties is, and this isn't always the case, but quite often I have found that heirloom varieties, especially when we're talking about tomatoes, are tastier. They're just have more character to them. They're a little more acidic, and they're just yummier. So, and then if you want to save your own seeds from year to year, you have to be growing heirloom varieties, not hybrids. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Okay, we've got. Okay, so Anonymous here asked this question. Says, if it says non-GMO, isn't that organic? No, not especially. Okay, so non-GMO, GMO doesn't, I mean, so if it's organic, it has to be non-GMO. Okay, but non-GMO seeds in the garden, the seed was raised. So raised without chemical inputs and without herbicides and non-approved herbicides and pesticides. So organic is really more the method that it was raised, not whether or not it's a GMO seed. So you can't. But again, you don't have to worry about GMO seeds at all because you can't buy GMO seeds from any seed catalog. That's available to home gardeners. Okay, so you just don't have to worry about that. So don't fuss about that at all. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what else we have here question-wise. Cynthia doesn't like live shows. Okay. All right. Cool. So I think that for today. Oh, there's some heirloom tomatoes. So that's actually a variety that we love called Pink Brandywine, and we love those. We grow those every year, and then we grow some hybrids varieties as well. Okay, so that is all that I have for today's workshop. I'm trying to keep it a little bit shorter this time than we did last time. Next workshop that I'm going to do is easy vegetables for beginners to grow. So we're going to talk about quite a few. Let me look at my list here. What do we got? 7, 4, 5. So we've got about 15 different varieties of vegetables that you can grow in your garden that are easy to deal with. Easier to grow, easier to be successful with, and so that's what we're going to talk about on Monday, is those vegetables that you can grow that will be simple for you. Okay? All right. So let's, we're going to talk about the Gardening Academy here, but I just wanted to make sure, yeah, Anonymous, that's exactly right. So it's about how it's grown. Okay, anybody else that has any other questions? I'll kind of leave it open for a second and see if we have any other questions. And then again, reminder, so Monday, what did we say? Monday at 10:30, I think is, so 10:30 a.m. is when we're going to do our next workshop. And that one will be probably about an hour long and will be the last one that I do for a bit. Well, we might do one on Tuesday. We'll see. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk really quick. It looks like... Okay, Selena, yeah, it'll be available for replay. I'll probably leave this video up for about a week or so afterwards. So, yeah, it'll definitely be available for replay. Okay, really quick, while I've still got you guys all here, let's talk about the Gardening Academy really quick. So the Gardening Academy is... okay. Before we go to the Garden Academy, I promised I would answer questions, and Morgan popped up a question here. Any good brands or companies to get seeds from? Okay, so that is a good question for you, and I don't have any that I that I absolutely love, but I have several that I've used over the years that I really like. I have bought seeds from Territorial Seed Company before. I've bought seeds from Johnny's Seeds, Jonny, I think is how they spell it. I don't think it's Joh. Johnny Seeds, Territorial Seeds. I buy from Mountain Valley Seeds, which is actually a local company to us, but they sell online as well. And then a new one that I really love is called M.I. Gardener. So M.I. Gardener. And they sell all of their seeds. They actually package their seeds themselves. You may recognize them. He is actually a pretty big YouTuber, like 500,000 followers and stuff. He's a really big YouTuber. And they have their own seed company, and they package them themselves, and they sell most of their seeds for 99 cents a package. And they're good quantities in the packages. So I actually ordered about 15 packages of seeds from them this year. Already planted some. They're already up and growing, doing good. Some of them haven't been planted yet, obviously, but yeah. So that would be another one. And then Baker Creek is also another one where you can get some good heirloom seeds as well. I'm not sure. I think M.I. Gardener, I think most of what they sell is either open pollinated or heirloom as well. So yeah, good. Those are all good companies. Okay, let's talk really quick about the Gardening Academy. So the Gardening Academy is our monthly membership service that where I teach you guys how to be better backyard gardeners, and it's designed for all kind of levels. And is what we do is every month we have a focused topic. So for example, this month we're focusing on growing tomatoes. Last month we were focusing on how to get our gardens started early, and that was our topic. We've covered how to grow greens. We've covered seed starting. We've covered season extension. So every month we have a different topic that we focus on, and then every week we have something that comes out to help you become a better gardener. And so every month we do a video where we have a planting guide. So I go through all the different gardening zones and tell you what you should be planting that month in those different gardening zones. And so we have that. That's one piece of content that comes out every week. And then we always have a mini course. So whatever the topic is, I'll do about a 45-minute to an hour-long mini course where we cover that topic and teach you about that topic. Some months I may actually do 2 mini courses. It just depends on the topic and how much we need to cover. Then we always have a live Q&A session, and we do that on Facebook in our private Facebook group, and have a live Q&A session there. And then the last piece of content for the month, we kind of rotate through a bunch of different things. Like last month, we had an expert come in and do an interview on season extension or getting started early in the growing season. And then sometimes we'll do a garden tour, my garden or somebody else's garden. We may do a book review. We might do a canning guide. So like the end of this month, we're going to be talking about how to can and freeze tomatoes, and so we'll do that. Some months we might do a recipe, how to use your produce, and so there's lots of fun stuff that we do. So every week, 4 times a month, we will have new content that comes out to you, and all of that is part of the Gardening Academy. And it's been really fun. We've got about 30 members in the Gardening Academy right now, and we're looking to add more, and so we'll be open until sorry, I had to check the calendar. We'll be open until Tuesday the 24th. And so you can click on the link below. It will take you out to our to the online gardening school, which is where the Gardening Academy is hosted. And then you can learn more about it there. Price for the Gardening Academy is $25 a month, or if you would like to pay annually, it'll save you 2 months, and so that'll save you $50. And like I say, all kinds of good content to help you become a better gardener, and it's a blast. We've had a lot of fun. We're getting a good group of people with a lot of interaction and just really enjoying it. So that's the Gardening Academy, and that you can learn more about by clicking on the link down below in this video. So I would love to have you become part of the Gardening Academy because it's a lot of fun. And it's only open for the next 4 days, and then we're closed up, and we won't be accepting new members for a little while. We kind of bring people in, get them up to speed, and then we'll bring some more people in later. But if you want to get in now and learn more about gardening, now is the time. Next month, we're going to be talking about square foot gardening, which is perfect for this time of year to get us started. So really, really, really good group. So click down below on that link, please, and go take a look at it, because I really think that you'll enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun, and we have really enjoyed having that. It's been 6 months now. We've been open since, I think we opened up middle of September last year, so we're 6 months, maybe even 7 now that we've been open. So yeah, so please come and join the Gardening Academy. Okay, so that is all I have for you for today. Remember, I am doing one more of these live workshops. We'll be doing that on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time, and when I'm finished with this one, I'll actually go out and set that up so that it's there and available, so that you guys can see that it's there. If you want to, you could also, there's a link down below where you could go and join our email list as well, and then I send out an email about 45 minutes before I go live, so that's down there as well. And also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you click on the subscribe button and click the notification bell, it'll let you know when we're going live. So again, 10:30 Monday, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time. So that would be 11 Central, 12 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. Okay. So yeah. So look forward to seeing you then. Again, please go check out the Gardening Academy. I think you'll love it. And that's all I have for you for today. Everybody have a great day. Have a good weekend. I'm going to go plant some peas and some potatoes and have some more fun out in the garden today. Have a great day. Happy gardening, guys.